between the time when I started being serious about being an artist and now, 40 years later, I have completed about 10 bodies of work. I'm in 4 museums in Indiana. I had a retrospective at the Sheldon Swope in Terre Haute, and a wonderful show at the Evansville Museum of a show I call Faces of Racism. I've been able to comment on the human condition as I see it, which is my particular interest. And I love drawing and painting people. At times when they're off guard and relaxed and enjoying themselves. And never did I think, when I look back, that that skinny 23-year-old mom with those 2 rambunctious boys would ever be able to get to the point I have now arrived of having a show whenever I care to, and painting at my leisure in a studio that's attached to my house. It seems like a dream, and I think it would have been a dream back then, but the dream has become a reality, and I feel extremely fortunate to have been an artist, to be an artist, and to have that in my life. And plus the fact that through being an artist in the art community in Indianapolis, I've had wonderful friends and an association with the Art Center that has lasted for 23 years. My students, it goes on and on, so I'm a lucky person.
Now, let's talk about how the Coalition of Indianapolis Artists got started, first of all, and what your purpose is. Now, everybody knows that artists are not good organizers, and yet all of a sudden we have an organization of artists. Now, is it working? How did this come about, Ellie?
Well, Dick and I had lunch together a number of times over a period of about 2 years, and we both felt it was necessary to start an organization of this type. But we would look at each other and say, we don't want to have to do the work. But yet...
But here you are.
Here we are, right. Finally, we got to the point where we decided to call a meeting. We invited Doris Hales to join us, and the 3 of us called a meeting, and we ended up with 45 people at that first meeting, all of them very vocal, and all of them with things that they really wanted to place into the hands of a coalition to deal with.
Now
I have chosen paintings that are throughout my career up to the most recent paintings. And there's some that kind of illustrate what I was able to learn from teachers. At the age of 10, I started taking private lessons in Wichita, Kansas, and the instructor was Betty Dickerson, and she taught us how to draw in charcoal in great detail, so that we did many, many still lifes and portraits in charcoal. I was with her until I graduated from high school, and I really credit her with everything that I know about drawing people as far as technique and structure. This is a good example of charcoal as a drawing tool. The wonderful thing about vine charcoal, willow vine charcoal, is that you can get a whole range of values. For an artist, values come before color, so that you can get darkest darks to very lightest lights with the very same media in your hand, that little stick of charcoal. And this is an example of that use of charcoal. You can see you can make thin little lines, all kinds of textures. You can do everything you need to do with charcoal except color. So this is a preparation for a painting that later was in the Hoosier Salon. I did the painting. It was called Uncle Stan, and the fun part of that was that my father, this was his brother, loved during the opening of the Hoosier Salon to stand beside the painting, sort of making sure that everyone noticed the resemblance between himself and his brother in the painting. That was in the early 80s. The next teacher that I really owe a lot to was Harry Davis, who was still teaching at Heron when I finished my degree. And Harry was quite an energetic instructor. And he had just discovered acrylics. Now, all of us from that generation learned to paint in oils because acrylics hadn't been invented. Harry felt that I should learn to paint in acrylics. It's very early in the selling of acrylics, the manufacture, all of that. So this is a painting in acrylic, which I learned to love, and all the succeeding paintings you'll see are done in acrylic. These folks were campers, camping in Airstream trailers, and they were in Greensburg, is it, where the tree is growing out of the top of the courthouse. And they had come to see that, but in the painting I couldn't show the courthouse and the tree, so I just decided that they would be coming to see that big rock back there. Maybe it had some historical significance. They had collected all these patches. They were more than happy to pose for me, and I told them someday it was going to be in a painting, and they said, "That's just great, we just wish we could see it." This painting is called The Way the Wind Blows, and it's part of a series that I did of children and animals. I had a wonderful opportunity to have a show at Rushman Gallery, but at the same time I had just moved out of my studio in the Ferris building, and so I was not able to access models, and so I decided to work from black and white family photographs that show. This particular painting shows this little girl who's getting to be an adolescent, and she doesn't realize that she's a little too big to ride a pony now. Her long skinny legs. I like that whole idea. I grew up in Kansas, and as you can see, the wind is blowing. Everything's going that way. But I also had a double meaning that the way the wind blows is that little girls grow up to be women. And she's at that point in her life. And yet there she is on the pony. This is an acrylic painting. I did find a model for the pony, and the rest was done from a black and white photograph.